Okay, as I was saying in the last video, I was invested in pipeline ETFs, AMZA, AMZA, and it was paying about 30,000 a year for us. We're invested in sand, high crush, frac sand. So high crush and emerging energy, they had about 10% dividends too, but those blew up and went bankrupt. And I had to reconstruct my income in the oil and gas space because I wanted income and not actual stock exposure, because income was becoming a way of life, not stocks. Stocks could blow up your account any day and you can't survive and retire. Also, banks will not take stock money. They take dividends as a pay stub in qualifying income. So when I learned that, I went all in dividend related oil and gas themes like AMZA, AMZA. Well, and I started writing articles on it as well on Seeking Alpha, and the fund manager of AMZA and also an owner of a pipeline, he's a really big time guy, Jay Hatfield, reached out to me personally. His secretary did actually reach out to me and asked if I wanted to do an interview with him so that we could get better information to our readers about the fund AMZA. And I said, of course, because I wanted to learn from potentially a great man. Why wouldn't I say yes? So he called me and we ended up speaking for hours, and he took on sort of a mentor role for me. And this is why, because he gave me the biggest secret I've ever been told in my life, which is, okay, Todd, he said, if you're going to put all of your eggs in a basket like AMZA that for the dividend, which he understands, you want to approach it like this. He said AMZA was his second largest holding. His first largest holding was PFFA. PFFA. We're not going to go into PFA. I'm going to take you to a picture right now and show you some of the things I found in the Permian Basin. But PFFA is he said was a fund that deals with preferred securities that goes sideways. This is the biggest secret, again, that you need to know. If you're going to use leverage like I was using margin, which I'll show you actually briefly. If you go to my portfolio, you'll see we have a purchasing power here of 600,000. Okay, and I have 200 grand margin on right here. This is good debt, not bad debt. I can sell this at any time. I can click sell, trade, and sell, and the margin's gone. But I keep it on because I'm charged 5% interest, and these vehicles like AMZA pay 10%. So I'm netting 5%. AMZA pays currently 8%, but I locked it in at 10%, the dividend. So I'm getting charged 5% in my margin interest down here, 200 grand, but I'm getting paid 10% on the AMZA dividend. So I'm getting a profit just for owning it in leverage. So I ended up putting 200 grand of leverage in AMZA at the time. As you can see here, we only have 7,500 in AMZA because I prefer the diversification in oil and gas to be with a lot less money since it's so volatile. You want to put your bigger chips, you want to put your chips in these bigger funds that are related to the S&P and NASDAQ and the pure indexes, not sector specific like oil and gas, which is very volatile and can ruin you. We just did a video on Devon Energy where you can see here it was down 4% on Friday. But we only have $1,000 in it, so it keeps our performance in line, which, as you'll see here, as I take your performance tab, you'll see that we're up 23% for the year, whereas the S&P is up 6% and the NASDAQ's up 12%. So anyway, he showed me that with PFFA, it goes sideways. And since it goes sideways, I'll go ahead and show you a chart of PFFA. I apologize. I wanted to show you pictures of my trip to Midland. But first, I'll show you PFFA. Yes, it's had a big comeback here from the lows because 2022 was a rough year, but it generally goes sideways between 20 and 22, so it's actually a pretty tight range that it stays in. And if you look at this is the leverage version, PFFA, but if you look at its original index that it follows, PFF, which is a basket of preferred securities, you'll see that it too generally goes sideways between 30 and 35. See? So and it pays a 5% dividend, 6% dividend. PFFA pays a little more than that. It paid about 7% for me at the time. So 7% dividend, or 9% dividend for PFFA. So I actually wish I owned it in 2022. I sold it to take a gain. I should have bought it back at 18, but it still looks like a pretty good buy here at 21 with still a 9% dividend, and it's It's currently a few points off its highs. It was at 24, the old range, and 27, as you can see. So at 21, it's actually a pretty good steal. I need to go look into PFFA. But I digress. So let's go into those pictures, and I'll show you that this is what we're working with in Midland. So yeah, I was upset. There wasn't much to do. I was there for a wedding as well, and so I had my friend's wedding here, and he works in oil and gas, and he's making a lot of money, but he's making about $100K a year. But look at this place. This is the DoubleTree. This is the article that we're doing. This is the DoubleTree Hotel, which is the best hotel in Midland, Texas, and it's still pretty ratty. And it was cold, and there was nothing to do outside of it except run in this like empty field, and it was just it's not the greatest place to earn a living at. I'll tell you that much. You definitely don't want to spend more than a few days there. So this was a problem for me because I looked up the stats on what most oil and gas workers make, and they make about 100,000 a year on average. I mean, so they're making a lot of money, but I'm making 100,000 too. But I'm doing it I would say the more intelligent way. I'm using this leverage that I told you, and using the dividends from our funds that we own to pay back the margin interest, the margin and the margin interest. So this 97,000, I earn that too. But my 97,000 is also tax free. A lot of it, like AMZA, it is tax free. Cornerstone funds, which you can see on our past wall. We've done a lot on Cornerstone because Cornerstone, we have 400 grand in it. See $400,000 in Cornerstone. Yes, we're down on paper 23 and 38 because last year was hard, 23,000 and 38,000, but we're up on our dividends. That's why our performance shows that we're up 23%. So the dividends have paid back those losses and then some. They pay 20% dividends. You hold them for 5 years, that's 100% gain. You're playing with house money after that. So that's better than going to the casino and being a gambler. So sports betting, roughnecking in oil and gas, I don't understand it. I mean, I get it. You can make the money from sports betting or from being a rig worker in the Permian Basin. But my beef is to use the dividends that you get from your paychecks to then buy the Ferraris. I said this in the first video, and I apologize if I'm being redundant, but I can't say it enough. These people are buying Ferraris and big trucks in the Permian Basin, and they're buying nice houses and things of that nature. And that's just only entombing themselves into the region. And they can't leave because they have to use the high-paying job to sustain the monthly payments of a Ferrari or a house like that. So I just don't get it. They're making the same 100,000 as me, but they won't listen to me at all. As I come around there with my suit on and my son, and we don't work in the oil and gas industry, or we're not taxi cab drivers, they think that we're just like wandering salesmen or something as I have my suit on, but I was there for a wedding. And I'm trying to just network and talk to oil and gas people about money because they have money and I want to network. But none of them would talk to me. They thought that I was just, I said in the last video, some kind of prima donna, because I didn't work with my hands and I don't know, something about it. So I tried to tell them like I own Devin, like I showed him my YouTube wall and showed him my channel and showed him like, okay, here's a dividend gusher, Devin, which it's actually getting quite amount of views for me. This amount of views, this is good for me. Nothing else gets any views like this. You go to my shorts, I get basketball views with 1.7 thousand here or 3,000 here, but you go to one where I was traveling in Tokyo playing basketball, I get 17 views. So it's clearly an algorithm battle here. And but people nonetheless viewed the Devin video of mine. And Devin, I only have $1,000 in. That Devin is a small piece of the pie. You have to go into these other funds that I have hundreds of thousands, like I showed you in my portfolio of like Cornerstone, QYLD, we have a large amount of money in. Jeppy, we have 20 grand in. People need to look into this. Tesla, I sold Tesla puts for $800 at $50. I didn't even own the stock, and I got a 50% gain from not even owning it. Check that video out. So these are, some of my videos. Here's Cornerstone here, 4-star fund. Y'all should really check these out because this is where I'm making all of my money. See Jeppy here, 20,000. USA, we just did a video on 10% dividend there. I don't know why people don't look into it. At least work your job, work your oil field job. Be a taxi cab driver out there. Go bet in Vegas. I see a lot of people actually who go from the Permian Basin to Vegas. They go take all their winnings and they drive to Vegas, or they fly to Vegas in a jet and they just blow all their money. Well, now you got to keep repeating the process of living in misery. I don't understand it. At least invest it first. Blow all your money and investing and losing in the market instead of losing in the casino, except you won't lose here because you get paid dividends, and the dividends pay back the losses, and then the dividends also pay back the margin. So use the margin as your high octane risk that you need to take, but use it for safe 5-star funds like Cornerstone and Gove. These are 4 and 5-star funds that I've made tons of videos about. You should go check those out. So anyway, Jay Hatfield, he was a lifesaver to me. He was a mentor because he changed my life and made me realize to switch away from the volatile oil and gas sector and go into all kinds of other things that I, from there on, diversified fully into. Not only PFFA, but I started owning all these other funds to protect myself from any one fall. So not one thing in here can take me down. And I did it slowly and surely, and over the years, I now grew my income to 100,000. People who work in the oil field, though, business, they already have 100,000. They could get their 100,000 and get 400,000 because you get this purchasing power, $4 for every $1 when you open any brokerage account. You get $4 for every $1. And they could use that, they love taking risks. They love the fast life. They could use it to invest in dividends. Then the dividends would not only pay back this margin, but they could then, after they pay down the margin and they get ahead, truly get ahead, they could quit their job. They could buy the Ferrari out through the dividends, and then they could continue to live off the dividends and keep using their leverage and their debt to grow their dividends, just like you would in real estate. You keep using leverage and debt to keep growing your real estate. So it's the same concept as real estate, but we're using it in stocks and ETFs because more people can access an E-Trade account or a Webull or a Fidelity account than you can starting off in real estate. So this is why I believe this channel is the truth. And this is also why I believe that working in the Permian Basin for $100K a year is a lie, unless you're investing it in dividends and then living off those dividends to do whatever you want with. Buy that Ferrari, buy that giant jacked up truck that is just driving down the street, waking up everybody in the hotel at night. Go ahead, buy that, but do it off the dividends. Thank you.